Here is the dirty little secret the financial world does not exactly advertise on billboards. Accumulating wealth and actually living off that wealth are two completely different skills, and mastering one does not automatically qualify you for the other. Think of it this way. Spending 30 years climbing a mountain is impressive, but if nobody taught you how to safely descend, the climb itself becomes the least of your worries. Search engine optimization, or as the internet loves to call it, search engine optimization, built entire industries around one simple idea. Show up at the right moment with exactly the right answer. And that is precisely what a bulletproof retirement income strategy needs to do. Show up reliably every single month, with exactly the right amount, no matter what the market is doing, no matter what inflation is cooking up, and no matter how long you decide to stick around on this planet. So buckle up, because what we are about to walk through is not your grandfather's retirement advice. This is the smarter, sharper, and frankly overdue conversation about turning your hard-earned nest egg into a paycheck that actually keeps its promises. Now, here is where it gets interesting, and by interesting, I mean the kind of thing that keeps financial advisors up at night. Most people spend decades carefully building their nest egg, obsessing over every percentage point of growth, only to completely ignore the single biggest threat waiting for them on the other side of the finish line. We are not talking about inflation, we are not talking about healthcare costs, and we are definitely not talking about outliving your money in the traditional sense. We are talking about something far sneakier, a timing problem so precise and so brutal that two people with identical portfolios and identical withdrawal strategies can end up with completely opposite outcomes, simply because one of them retired in the wrong year. Think about that for a second. Same savings, same plan, same discipline, but one person sips cocktails on a beach for 30 years while the other runs out of money in 15. The difference has nothing to do with how smart they were or how hard they worked. It has everything to do with what the market decided to do in their first few years of retirement. That is not a fair game, but it is the game we are all playing, whether we know it or not. Here is the uncomfortable truth that most financial content will never tell you. The average retiree does not fail because they did not save enough. They fail because they had no system. They had a number in their account, a vague hope that it would last, and absolutely zero strategy for how to actually use it. And when the market dropped, they panicked, sold low, locked in their losses, and never fully recovered. Sound familiar? It should, because it happens every single market cycle without fail. But here is where it gets interesting. The retirees who sleep soundly at night, who do not flinch when the headlines scream financial disaster, who actually enjoy their retirement instead of anxiously watching ticker symbols. They are not necessarily wealthier than you. They are simply more structured. They have a plan that tells every single dollar exactly what its job is and exactly when it is needed. That is the power of the three-bucket system, and that is precisely what separates a retirement built on confidence from one built on crossed fingers. Now, here is where it gets interesting, and honestly, where most retirement strategies completely fall apart without even realizing it. The safety bucket is not just a boring pile of cash sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. It is actually the unsung hero of your entire financial plan, the quiet bodyguard standing between you and catastrophic, irreversible mistakes. Think about it this way. When the market throws one of its legendary tantrums, and trust me, it absolutely will, most retirees panic and sell everything at exactly the wrong moment. That is not a strategy. That is financial self-sabotage dressed up as caution. But you are different. Because while everyone else is scrambling, you are calmly reaching into your safety bucket, covering your expenses without breaking a sweat, and letting your other investments recover at their own pace. The safety bucket essentially buys you something that no financial product on the market can officially sell you, and that is time. Time to wait, time to breathe, and time to let compounding do what compounding does best. So before you ever think about chasing returns or optimizing yields, make sure this foundation is rock solid, because everything else we are about to build depends entirely on it. So how does Bucket 1 actually work once you are retired and living off your savings? It is straightforward. Every single month, when your bills arrive, your grocery runs happen, your utilities are due, you pull directly from this safety bucket. You are not touching any investments. You are not selling anything. You are simply spending money that is already sitting there, stable and accessible. This is where the real power of this bucket becomes clear. Let us say the stock market drops 30% in a single quarter. For most retirees, that headline would cause serious panic. But because your day-to-day expenses are already covered for the next 1 to 2 years, that market drop does not affect your life at all in the short term. Your rent gets paid. Your groceries get bought. Your lifestyle continues without interruption. That psychological buffer is genuinely priceless. Now that you understand how Bucket 1 keeps your immediate needs covered, let's talk about Bucket 2, which is your income bucket. This is where things start to get really interesting. Bucket 2 typically holds 3 to 7 years' worth of living expenses, and it lives in conservative to moderate investments. We are talking about things like bonds, dividend-paying stocks, or balanced funds that blend both stocks and bonds together. The whole purpose of this bucket is not to make you rich overnight. It is designed for stability and modest, steady growth over time. You are not chasing maximum returns here. You are building a reliable middle layer that sits between your immediate cash needs and your long-term growth investments. Think of it as the bridge between security and opportunity, quietly working in the background to keep your retirement income flowing smoothly without unnecessary risk. So here is where the real magic of this system begins to show itself. Bucket 2, your income bucket, acts as the middle layer that keeps everything flowing smoothly. As Bucket 1 starts to run low, typically after about a year or so, you simply transfer money from Bucket 2 to top it back up. This refilling process is the key to avoiding one of the biggest mistakes retirees make, which is selling long-term investments at exactly the wrong time. Because Bucket 2 holds conservative, relatively stable assets, you can draw from it without worrying too much about market timing. Meanwhile, your growth investments in Bucket 3 are left completely untouched, free to ride out any market downturn and recover naturally. This layered approach creates a steady, reliable income flow that protects your financial future without forcing any panic-driven decisions. Now we arrive at the third and final bucket, and this one is where the real long-term power lives. Bucket 3 is your growth bucket, and it holds the remainder of your retirement savings, invested in higher growth assets like stocks or equity funds. This is the most aggressive of the 3 buckets, and intentionally so. The key rule with Bucket 3 is simple. You do not touch it for at least 5 to 10 years. That long runway is everything. It gives your investments the time they need to ride out market downturns, recover from volatility, and ultimately grow significantly over the long term. Think of it as your financial engine running quietly in the background, while buckets 1 and 2 handle your day-to-day and medium-term needs. The longer you leave bucket 3 untouched, the harder it works for your future. Here is what makes bucket 3 truly remarkable in this entire system. Because you are not depending on it for immediate income, you have the freedom to leave it completely untouched through every market swing, every downturn, and every recovery cycle. That patience is incredibly powerful. While buckets 1 and 2 are handling your day-to-day and near-term needs, bucket 3 is quietly compounding in the background, working hard over years and even decades. This is the bucket that prevents you from outliving your money. Retirement can last 20, 30, or even 40 years, and inflation will steadily erode your purchasing power over that time. Bucket 3 is specifically designed to outpace inflation over the long haul, ensuring that your money grows faster than the cost of living rises, keeping your retirement financially sustainable from beginning to end. Let us walk through a real example. Imagine you retire with $500,000 split across 3 buckets. Bucket 1 holds $20,000 covering 1 year of expenses. Bucket 2 holds $150,000 in bonds and dividend funds. Bucket 3 holds $330,000 in growth stocks. In year 1 and 2, you draw from bucket 1 for living expenses. Meanwhile, the market performs well, so in year 3, you move gains from bucket 3 into bucket 2, replenishing what was used. Bucket 2 then refills bucket 1 heading into year 4 and 5. Even if markets dip in year 2, you never panic sell because bucket 3 is untouched. This rolling flow creates a self-sustaining income engine, protecting your present while quietly growing your future. Now, you might be wondering whether all of this sounds too complicated to manage on your own, and that is a completely fair concern. But here is the reassuring truth. Once the 3 buckets are properly set up, the ongoing maintenance is actually quite straightforward. You do not need to monitor this system every single day or even every month. Most people who use this strategy review their buckets just once or twice a year, checking whether bucket 1 needs refilling or whether bucket 3 has grown enough to top off bucket 2. That is genuinely it for most years. And if you work with a financial advisor, many of them can help automate the rebalancing and transfer process entirely, so the system essentially runs itself in the background while you focus on actually enjoying your retirement. Simple, structured, and sustainable. Now you might be wondering, how much money actually goes into each bucket? The honest answer is that it depends on 3 key factors. First, your monthly retirement spending needs. Second, your other income sources, such as Social Security or a pension, which reduce how much you need to pull from your savings. Third, your overall risk tolerance, meaning how comfortable you are with market fluctuations affecting your portfolio. Here is how to think about it practically. If your monthly expenses are $5,000 and Social Security covers $3,000, you only need your buckets to generate $2,000 per month. That changes everything about how you size each bucket. The best place to start is by calculating your actual monthly retirement spending needs. Not a rough guess, but a real number. That figure becomes the foundation of your entire 3-bucket plan, and everything else builds from there. Now, here is something most financial videos never talk about: the emotional and psychological benefit of the 3-bucket system. And honestly, this might be the most important part of the entire strategy. When markets crash, and they will crash at some point, Most retirees panic. They see their portfolio drop and their first instinct is to sell everything and move to cash. That is one of the most damaging financial decisions a retiree can make. But when you have the three-bucket system in place, something powerful happens. You look at bucket 1 and realize your next 2 years of expenses are completely safe. You look at bucket 2 and know you have several more years covered. Suddenly, the scary headlines lose their power over you. Having a clear visual and logical structure for your money gives you the confidence to stay calm, stay invested, and stick to your long-term plan no matter what the market does. So who exactly is this strategy designed for? If you are within 10 years of retirement or already retired, this system was essentially built with you in mind. It is also ideal for anyone who wants a clear, organized income plan, rather than just a vague collection of accounts and investments with no real structure. And if you have ever felt that knot in your stomach when the market drops, and you start wondering whether your retirement savings will survive, this approach directly addresses that anxiety by giving you a logical framework to fall back on. The good news is that the three-bucket strategy is not a one-size-fits-all rigid formula. It can be adapted to different asset sizes, whether you have $200,000 saved or $2 million, and it can be adjusted based on your personal risk tolerance and income needs. So let's bring it all together one final time. 3 buckets: safety, income, and growth. Each one serving a distinct purpose, each one protecting the others, and together forming a system that keeps your retirement on track no matter what the market does. But here is what I really want you to take away today. The three-bucket system is not just a financial strategy. It is a retirement confidence strategy. It is the difference between lying awake at night, worried about a market crash, and sleeping soundly, knowing your plan is built to handle it. Your first step this week is simple. Calculate your actual monthly expenses in retirement. Then look at your current savings and ask yourself, how does this money map to safety, income, and growth? That one exercise could genuinely change everything. Start there.